Well, thank you for coming. And today, I want to speak directly to our BC public school teachers, our proud members of the BCTF. I know many of you are watching today around the province at our study sessions, and I hope that you'll be looking at a potential settlement. But that didn't happen. Instead, Peter Fassbender, Christy Clark, and the government's bargaining team actually squandered an opportunity to get our BC students back to schools. On Friday, the BCTF bargaining team tabled a series of significant proposals, changes to our proposals, in the hopes of bringing both sides closer together. It was fair, reasonable, and balanced. We increased our term to 5 years. Everyone knew the Premier's 10-year scheme was never going to fly. But with this proposal, we are meeting them halfway. We also reduced our salary proposal in the biggest move that either party has made to date. At 8% over those 5 years, plus a larger signing bonus, our proposal puts us within 1% of the government's proposal. The BCTF Executive Committee made this difficult decision to reduce our salary proposal to show good faith and that we're serious about negotiating a fair settlement. At 8%, the increase will not deal with all of our concerns about cost of living and catching up, or at least closing the gap to our colleagues in the rest of Canada. But it shows a willingness to get a deal to be reasonable. We also proposed 2 new education funds to help both sides move forward while we wait for the Court of Appeal to rule on the government's past unconstitutional actions. One fund would address class size, composition, and staffing levels for specialist teachers like teacher librarians, special education teachers, learning assistance teachers, and teacher counselors. The Class Size and Composition Fund would be new funding from this government and allow local districts and our local teacher unions to meet together and allocate the funding where it's needed most. If there was disagreement, the matter would be given to an independent third party for binding resolution. This is a fair and reasonable way to address class size, composition, and staffing levels while we wait for the court case to conclude. Our BC kids have been waiting long enough, and they shouldn't have to wait another whole school year or more while the justice system deals with government's appeal of a decision that has already been rendered twice. The employer continues to deny our rights to bargain limits and ratios into the collective agreement. The BCTF has also proposed a creative way, an out, or if you will, for government to deal with the thousands of potential grievances that could arise from Justice Griffin's decision, the BC Supreme Court. Twice now, the BC Supreme Court has ruled that this BC Liberal government violated our teachers' constitutional rights. In the most recent decision, Justice Griffin restored our working conditions retroactively. In other words, she said that class size and composition provisions are back into our collective agreement. While currently stayed pending an appeal, class size and composition grievances could eventually flow by the thousands. The BCTF's proposal would see government allocate new funding to the bargaining table to deal with other key issues that we have that would help teachers do their job and support students. The fund would be a comprehensive resolution to Justice Griffin's decision regarding the years when teachers could not rely on our rights. In return for resources in the classrooms and for teachers, the BCTF would withdraw these retroactive grievances. These proposals were fair and would benefit teachers, students, and government. There was a real opportunity to fix a lot of what they've broke. But instead of the flexibility and open mind the government promised, we only saw more stonewalling and unwillingness to even consider new ideas. Instead of bargaining 24/7, as Minister Fassbender promised in every single media interview last week and even today, the government sat on their hands for 2 days. We made all these proposals, reducing our wage proposal, a new fund for class size and composition, and potential fix on retroactive grievances on Friday. And then we waited. The government did not respond fully until Sunday evening, almost a full 48 hours later. There was no 24/7 bargaining as Peter Fassbender and Christy Clark promised. Those comments last week and today are completely disingenuous. It was all talk. The government was unprepared, unwillingly, and ultimately unhelpful. They brought nothing to the table, nothing to bring both sides closer together. The government, through BCPC, actually reduced their wage offer. They went from 7.25% over 6 years to 7%. It's almost unheard of to backtrack on a wage offer. And in my view, I don't think that shows a lot of good faith in our Premier, Christy Clark. She's not changed, and I think British Columbians will be angry. She promised progress. Peter Fassbender promised movement. But what we saw instead was another step backwards. And it didn't stop there. The government also rejected our proposals on the education fund to reduce class sizes, improve class composition, and to hire more specialist teachers. Christy Clark said no to smaller classes for your students. Christy Clark said no to extra help for our kids who need it. Instead, they came back with a proposed committee and a scheme to erase the collective agreement if they don't like what the Court of Appeal has to say. First, government applied to the court to stay, not implement teacher rights. Now the government actually tabled language that would terminate the collective agreement if they don't like what the courts had to say about their unconstitutional legislation. Instead of owning up to their illegal actions, they want to erase the legal consequences. The government proposal says, quote, within 60 days of the ultimate judicial decision, either party may give written notice to the other of termination of the collective agreement. The government is so afraid of the courts, so determined to hold back the funding required to give our kids the education they deserve, that they are already scheming to undo a potential decision of the Supreme Court of Canada. Why does this government continue to think that they are above the law? We offered them a fair way to deal with the implications of their own illegal actions, and they came back with a crass attempt to bypass Canada's judicial system. And then there is their proposal on learning conditions for students. Instead of actually hiring more specialist teachers to support students who are learning English or have special needs, they want to strike a fact-finding committee. 12 years after illegally stripping our collective agreement and shortchanging an entire generation of BC children, government, Christy Clark, offers a fact-finding committee? No, Premier, a committee is not good enough. BC students need smaller classes now. Our students with special needs need more support now. Every child deserves that one-on-time with a specialist teacher and with our classroom teachers. A committee will not reduce class size or improve class composition. A committee just lets Christy Clark pretend like she's doing something about a problem that she created 12 years ago. The government's Learning Improvement Fund isn't getting the job done either. Teachers are only consulted rather than be an equal partner at the table. The BC Supreme Court said the Learning Improvement Fund did not replace collective agreement language, and neither will a committee. Driving the parties further apart, putting partisan ideology before education, and empty promises of 24/7 bargaining are just not good enough. BC teachers put a fair and reasonable wage package on the table. Fair and reasonable package on the table, and then we waited 48 hours. We all expected a full weekend of round-the-clock bargaining. But instead, we waited for 2 days only to see this government turn its back on a good opportunity to get our BC students back in our classrooms. It's such a shame. To our teachers, we will keep pushing. We believe that a fairly negotiated deal is possible, and we are committed to that. We need this employer, this government, to come to that table in good faith and bring the funding that it will take to get this deal done. We've put reasonable proposals, and now we need government. The Executive Committee will meet later today and will discuss all of our options. In the meanwhile, I know you're going to be getting down to work at your study sessions. I know some of you have already started them. I encourage you to continue talking to parents, trustees, MLAs, tell your stories on social media, and let the public know what went on this weekend. And continue letting the public know. Tell your stories, share your stories. And again, thank you for your dedication and commitment to our students for a fair deal. You are amazing. Thank you.
Jim, is the strike imminent at this point, given what you just told us?
The strike is imminent. Our executive committee is meeting today, and we'll look at all our options. Government had that opportunity to get a deal this weekend, and they squandered it, and it's just so disappointing. You know, I was really hopeful. I still am, but this was the weekend. They could have actually brought proposals after we tabled some significant changes to ours to hopefully bring the parties together. They had that opportunity, and they went backwards rather than going forwards.
Are you at the table today? Are you speaking today at all?
We're not at the table today, but you know, communication is always open, and we're meeting with our executive committee.
The minister did say this morning that they were the last ones to put down a comprehensive proposal. He said that the ball is in your court and that his package is as good as it's going to get. So he's saying that it's your move next.
Well, it's unfortunate, and you know, we've heard the minister say a number of things. You know, you have to question whether they're sincere or not. We waited 48 hours after our comprehensive proposal, where we gave them a way to deal with class size, class composition, staffing levels. Now, come September, while we wait for a court of appeal, we gave them, in terms of a 5-year term, a wage proposal that brings us within 1%. We made a lot of moves. We waited 48 hours, and what we got back actually is worse than there was previously, and some of the stuff was the same. 48 hours while we wait and we make significant movements, government needs to do better.
So can I be clear, though? He says they're waiting at the table now for your response. Can we expect that you will go back to that table today or not?
Well, government's actually not waiting at a table right now. We're still...
It's his words.
Yes, I know it's his words. And we're still going to be bargaining, and today we're meeting with our executive.
So you will not go back?
Oh, no, we haven't left the table.
So if you guys are with 1%, why don't you split the middle at 0.5 and split the difference of between 5 and 6 years to 5.5?
Well, you know, they were at 6. We were at 4. We split it, and we came down significantly. We had a number of issues that need to be addressed, and we made a decision that we weren't going to be able to address them in this round. And so 5 years at 8% and a signing bonus is very close, and government made the decision not to move, and in fact go backwards a little bit.
So
you have to question their sincerity.
Is it still the extras that are at issue as well? You know, not just the wage, but all the rest of the compensation package?
Well, definitely we want to see improvements in our class sizes, the class composition, and specialist teachers. We want to see smaller class sizes come September. We want to see more specialist teachers. We want to have our students have more access to one-on-one time. That's what we were hoping for. We gave them this huge opportunity in terms of dealing with that with our proposal that would actually bring supports for our students in classrooms come September, where local school districts sit down with the local teachers union after teachers and principals meet about what the makeup of the classes, what's needed, and they would make the decisions at that level would have immediate impact. That's what we want. We've been waiting 12 years. Our students have been waiting for 12 years. We can't wait longer.
So I was just asking, because I know that there's the 8% wages, but what about the rest of the compensation? There was a bit of a difference between you guys and the government on that as well, but the extras that you get, time off, sick pay, all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, there's some other issues that we'll be coming to terms with, because that's all about collective bargaining. It's about compromise. It's about moving forward and not backwards. But there's the critical issues. And class size, class composition, specialist ratios. We have 2 Supreme Court decisions right now that said government violated the supreme law of the country. That has to have meaning. Supreme Court said those provisions are restored for our students. Instead of honoring the Supreme Court decision, instead of honoring our right to be able to bargain class size back into our collective agreement for our students and for our teachers, this government, through their stay, is denying our rights again, and this government, through their stay, is denying our students getting more supports that they need come September. That's a critical issue that could have been addressed this weekend, and this government chose actually to go backwards in that area.
So that's
Jim,
the biggest
what's the
sticking point,
signing
right?
bonus? You asked for a signing bonus. You didn't say what it was. What was it?
$5,000.
5,000.
Yes.
What does this mean for the weeks ahead? You have this, your strike is imminent, but what about summer school? There's a lot of questions hanging in the air now.
Yeah, and our executive is going to be talking about some of that today, and we'll be making decisions as we go forward. What we want is a negotiated deal, and that's what we need to work towards.
So how did this $5,000 signing bonus come from? How do you draw to that number?
We looked at, in terms of what's been happening in terms of the work that we're doing, and the 10% pay deduction. We looked at what some of the pieces are in terms of how we can get this collective agreement. They put a salary, a signing bonus on the table. We know what the signing bonus was put on the table by government in the last round of in 2006, and so looking at those numbers, we thought that this is an appropriate number to go forward with, considering we reduced our salary number considerably, especially in the area where we think that it's important that all working people are able to keep up with the cost of inflation. And the fact that we are 6th to 9th lowest paid across Canada, and that's an issue that we wanted to address in this round of bargaining, and we made the decision to put forth a fair and reasonable proposal, and we reduced our wage demand, which then we know that the gap will continue to expand rather than close. So looking at what we did, that was the decision we came up with, which we thought were appropriate. You know, MLAs, a number of years ago, were the lowest paid, or one of the lowest paid across Canada. They struck a committee. They looked at MLA salaries, premier salaries across this country, and the committee made a recommendation, and what they did is they moved themselves up from near the bottom, I think they were 9th out of 10, to either 2nd or 3rd. They were able to do it. They gave themselves huge salary increases, up to anywhere between 30 to 70% to bring them up. And so this government thinks it's okay that MLA salaries are competitive across Canada, but they don't believe that our salaries should be competitive.
What do you say to parents out there that are fed up with all this? You're so close right now. What do you say to them when you look them in the eye tomorrow and say, we're on strike?
I think we've had a lot of support from our parents. I had a lot of people talk to me on this weekend about the support. They understand what the issues are. They understand that this government underfunds to the tune of $1,000 less per student than the Canadian average. They understand that this We have the second worst funding across Canada, next to Prince Edward Island. They've seen what's happening in our schools. They support more support and resources one-on-one time for our students. You know, I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent, and what I want for my own kids, I want for all of our students. And it's who we are as teachers and wanting to meet the needs of all our students. But we want to be supported in doing that and giving students the one-on-one attention, not only with their work, but to talk with them about how they're doing, how their day was. It's, you know, it's priceless. You can't even measure that. But a student measures it when a teacher has time to talk with them. I think our parents get it. And it's been 12 years. And we want that 12 years to end. We want the next generation of students coming to school in September to have smaller class sizes, to have better support, more resources for them, and our current students who are continuing. That has to change. 12 years is too long.
If class size and composition is completely on the table, is it that there's flat out not going to be a deal?
Sir, could you ask that?
If class size and composition isn't put on the table in the way that the BCTF wants it on the table, is it fair to say that there's no chance?
Class size, class composition, and specialist teacher levels has to be addressed in this collective agreement that's meaningful in a way that our kids are going to get the support come September. So it has to be addressed in a meaningful way that's going to make a difference. So it has to be part of this collective agreement, absolutely.
Do you worry that support from teachers will dry up if you do go on strike? What's
You-
happened before?
Our teachers are committed to a fair deal. And, you know, for our teachers, they know what's at stake here. And what they don't want is another year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years in the same type of conditions. They want to have the support. They want to have that respect from a government through that support with the resources and the smaller class sizes. Our system is still good, but that's because of the work that our teachers do and their commitment and the support of parents with their own children.
So do you still hope that the June 30th is the final day of reaching something?
You know, that's been my hope all along, and that continues to be my hope. But we need government to, we need government to come to the table with the funding. They sure didn't do it this weekend. Going backwards is just, I guess it just blew us all away, actually. Thank you.